What happens when America's sweetheart meets Hollywood's most controversial royal? You won't believe what unfolds when Meghan Markle sits down with Kelly Clarkson for what was supposed to be a simple promotional appearance. The gloves came off, voices were raised, and by the end of the night, security had to be called. This is the explosive confrontation that has everyone talking. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're not going to believe what unfolds when these two powerhouses go head-to-head. The atmosphere in Studio 6B was electric, as Kelly Clarkson prepared for what her production team had billed as a feel-good interview with the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan had arrived to promote her latest Netflix documentary series, and everything seemed perfectly choreographed for another one of Kelly's signature heartwarming conversations. The audience was buzzing with excitement. Phones were silenced, and cameras were rolling as Kelly flashed her million-dollar smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Meghan Markle," Kelly announced, her voice carrying that familiar warmth that had made her America's favorite daytime host. The audience erupted in applause as Meghan glided onto the stage, wearing an impeccably tailored cream blazer and that practiced smile she'd perfected during her royal years. But seasoned Kelly Clarkson show viewers would later say they noticed something different about Kelly's demeanor from the very beginning. Her usual effusive energy seemed slightly restrained, her smile just a fraction less genuine than usual. Those who knew Kelly well could detect the subtle tension in her shoulders, the way she gripped her coffee mug just a little too tightly. "Meghan, it's so wonderful to have you here," Kelly began, settling into her signature oversized chair. "I have to say, you look absolutely stunning. How are you feeling about being back in the spotlight with this new project?" Meghan's response was smooth, polished, and exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd spent years navigating media interviews. "Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. I'm thrilled to be here. This documentary really means everything to me, because it's about giving voice to the voiceless, something I've always been passionate about." The first few minutes proceeded exactly as planned. Kelly asked about Meghan's children, her life in Montecito, and her various charitable endeavors. Meghan delivered perfectly crafted responses, each answer seeming rehearsed and focus grouped to perfection. The audience was engaged, laughing at appropriate moments, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. But then Kelly did what Kelly does best. She went off script. "You know, Meghan, I have to ask because our viewers are curious," Kelly said, her tone shifting slightly. "There's been so much speculation about your relationship with the royal family, and I know you've spoken about this before. But I'm wondering, do you ever feel like maybe some of the bridges that were burned could have been, I don't know, handled differently?" The question hung in the air like smoke from a fired gun. Meghan's smile flickered for just a moment, and those watching closely could see her jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. This wasn't the softball question she'd been expecting. "I'm sorry, Kelly, but I think that's a really unfair way to frame it," Meghan replied, her voice still controlled, but with an edge that hadn't been there moments before. "Bridges weren't burned. They were systematically demolished by an institution that refused to protect me and my family." Kelly leaned forward slightly, her journalist instincts kicking in. "But surely, you can understand how some people might feel that the way certain things were handled publicly, especially the timing of some revelations, might have seemed calculated to cause maximum impact." The temperature in the studio seemed to drop several degrees. Meghan's publicist, sitting in the front row, could be seen shifting uncomfortably in her seat. The audience, sensing the tension, had gone completely silent. "Calculated?" Meghan repeated, her voice rising slightly. "Kelly, I'm really surprised by this line of questioning. I came here to talk about my documentary, about the important work we're doing to highlight social justice issues, and instead you're essentially accusing me of being manipulative." Kelly's producer was frantically gesturing from behind the cameras, clearly trying to signal for a commercial break, but Kelly wasn't backing down. Her Texas roots were showing, and anyone who knew her personally could recognize the determined set of her jaw. "I'm not accusing you of anything, Meghan. I'm asking genuine questions that I think a lot of people have. You've built a brand around authenticity and truth-telling, but there are inconsistencies in some of the timelines you've shared publicly that make people question." "Question what exactly?" Meghan interrupted, her composure beginning to crack. "Question my truth? Question my lived experience? This is exactly the kind of gaslighting I've been talking about." The word gaslighting seemed to hit Kelly like a physical blow. Her eyes flashed with something that looked dangerously close to anger, and she set her coffee mug down with more force than necessary. "Now hold on just a minute," Kelly said, her voice taking on a harder edge that her regular viewers had never heard before. "I've been nothing but respectful to you since you walked onto my stage. Asking follow-up questions isn't gaslighting. It's journalism. And frankly, I'm getting pretty tired of that word being thrown around every time someone doesn't like being asked to clarify their statements." The studio was now completely silent, except for the quiet hum of cameras. Even the crew members had stopped what they were doing to watch this unprecedented moment unfold. This wasn't the Kelly Clarkson show anyone was expecting to see. Meghan's face had gone pale, then flushed red. Her hands were clenched in her lap, and when she spoke again, her voice was trembling with barely contained fury. "I cannot believe I'm sitting here being attacked by someone I thought was going to be an ally. This is exactly why Harry and I left. Because of this exact kind of hostile treatment." "Attacked?" Kelly's voice was incredulous now. "Meghan, asking you to explain contradictions in your own public statements isn't an attack. It's basic accountability. Something that maybe you haven't had to deal with much lately, surrounded by yes people and Netflix executives who hang on your every word." The gloves were officially off now, and what happened next would change everything. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity before Meghan's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Excuse me? Yes, people and Netflix executives? Are you fucking kidding me right now?" The profanity hit the studio like a thunderclap, causing several audience members to gasp audibly. This was live television, and Meghan Markle had just dropped an F-bomb on America's most wholesome daytime talk show. Kelly's eyes widened in shock, but she recovered quickly, her own anger now fully unleashed. "Did you just curse at me on my own show? In front of my audience? You want to talk about respect, Meghan, but you can't even maintain basic decorum when someone dares to question your narrative." "My narrative?" Meghan's voice was rising to dangerous levels now. "This isn't a narrative, Kelly. This is my life. These are the experiences that nearly drove me to suicide. And you're sitting here treating it like some kind of PR campaign that needs fact-checking." The mention of suicide caused an uncomfortable shift in the studio. Kelly's expression softened for just a moment, but her resolve didn't waver. "Nobody is minimizing your mental health struggles, Meghan, but you can't use that as a shield every time someone asks legitimate questions about inconsistencies in your public statements." "Inconsistencies?" Meghan was practically shouting now, all pretense of royal composure completely abandoned. "What inconsistencies? The fact that I said the royal family wouldn't help me when I was suicidal. The fact that someone made comments about Archie's skin color. Which part of my trauma are you calling inconsistent?" Kelly leaned forward, her voice deadly calm in contrast to Meghan's escalating hysteria. "The part where you said you didn't know anything about Harry before you met him, when there are photos of you at events celebrating his mother's charity work years earlier. The part where you claimed you weren't given media training, when palace sources have documented evidence of the sessions you attended. The part where—" "Palace sources?" Meghan exploded, standing up so abruptly her chair nearly toppled backward. "You're seriously going to cite palace sources to me? The same palace that threw me under the bus to protect Andrew? The same palace that leaked stories about me to cover up William's affair rumors?" The audience was now completely silent, many covering their mouths in shock. Camera operators were frantically adjusting their angles to capture every moment of this unprecedented meltdown. Kelly's producer was making slashing motions across his throat, desperately trying to signal for a commercial break, but both women were too far gone to notice. "I'm not citing anyone," Kelly shot back, her own voice getting louder. "I'm asking you to explain contradictions that anyone with Google can verify, and bringing up completely unsubstantiated rumors about William isn't helping your credibility here." "Unsubstantiated?" Meghan's laugh was bitter and harsh. "Just like my claims about racism were unsubstantiated. Just like my mental health crisis was unsubstantiated. This is exactly what they do. They attack your credibility so they don't have to address the actual issues." Kelly stood up now too, matching Meghan's aggressive posture. "Nobody is attacking anything except your inability to give straight answers. You came on this show knowing we might discuss your public statements, and instead of having an adult conversation about it, you're throwing a tantrum and accusing me of racism." "I never accused you of racism," Meghan screamed, her voice cracking with emotion. "But I am accusing you of being complicit in the same system that tried to destroy me. You're sitting here doing their dirty work for them." The confrontation had reached a fever pitch. Both women were standing now, facing each other across the coffee table like gladiators in an arena. The audience was frozen, unsure whether they were witnessing television history or a complete disaster. "Their dirty work?" Kelly's voice was incredulous. "Meghan, I built my career from nothing. I know what it's like to be underestimated and dismissed. But I also know the difference between asking hard questions and systematic oppression. And right now you're acting like a spoiled celebrity who can't handle basic accountability." Those words hit Meghan like a physical slap. Her face went white, then red, then purple with rage. "Spoiled celebrity? Are you out of your goddamn mind? I gave up everything. My career, my independence, my identity, to serve that family. And when they hung me out to dry, I lost everything again. And now you're sitting here calling me spoiled? You didn't lose everything." Kelly fired back without hesitation. "You got a $100 million Netflix deal, a Spotify contract, and you're living in a $16 million mansion. Most people would kill for your version of losing everything." The studio erupted in shocked murmurs as audience members began whispering to each other. This had gone far beyond uncomfortable. It was becoming a full-scale character assassination in real time. Meghan's hands were shaking with rage as she pointed an accusatory finger at Kelly. "How dare you minimize what I went through? How dare you reduce my trauma to dollar signs? You have no idea what it's like to have an entire institution trying to destroy you while the world watches. And you have no idea what it's like to work your ass off for 20 years in this industry without having a prince hand you a platform," Kelly shouted back, her own composure completely shattered now. "Some of us had to earn our success instead of marrying into it." The words hung in the air like a bomb that had just exploded. Even Kelly seemed shocked by what she'd just said, but there was no taking it back now. Meghan's face had gone completely white, and when she spoke again, her voice was dangerously quiet. "I see exactly who you really are now, Kelly Clarkson. And I'm done with this shit. What happened next will go down in daytime television history as one of the most explosive celebrity meltdowns ever captured on live TV." Meghan began gathering her belongings with violent, jerky movements, her hands shaking with pure fury. The wireless microphone pack clipped to her blazer was still live, picking up every muttered curse word as she fumbled with her purse. Kelly wasn't about to let her have the last word. "Oh, you're done? That's convenient. Run away when the questions get too hard, just like you did with the royal family." Meghan spun around so fast her hair whipped across her face. "Fuck you, Kelly. You think you know what I went through? You think sitting in your cozy little studio in Burbank gives you the right to judge my choices?" The audience was now openly gasping and murmuring. Several people in the front row were recording on their phones despite strict no-phone policies. This was the kind of content that would break the internet within hours. "I'm not judging your choices," Kelly fired back, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'm questioning your version of events, which apparently makes me the villain in your little victim narrative." "Victim narrative?" Meghan's voice reached a pitch that was almost inhuman. "I was driven to the brink of suicide by that family, and you're calling it a victim narrative? You're a real piece of work, Kelly. A real fucking piece of work." Kelly's producer finally managed to get close enough to signal frantically for a commercial break, but Kelly waved him off with an angry gesture. She was in full confrontation mode now, and nothing was going to stop this train wreck. "You know what, Meghan? You want to know what I really think? I think you went into that family expecting to change a 1,000-year-old institution to fit your Hollywood sensibilities, and when they wouldn't bend the knee to Meghan Markle, you burned it all down and then played victim when people called you out on it." The words hit like bullets. Meghan's face contorted with rage as she took several steps toward Kelly, close enough that security personnel began moving closer to the stage area. "You have no fucking idea what you're talking about," Meghan screamed, pointing her finger directly at Kelly's face. "That family is racist. They're archaic, and they would have destroyed me completely if I hadn't gotten out. But I guess you're too much of a fucking coward to call out racism when you see it." "There it is!" Kelly shouted back, throwing her hands up in exasperation. "The race card. I wondered how long it would take you to pull that one out. Newsflash, Meghan. Not everyone who disagrees with you is racist. Sometimes people just think you're wrong." The studio was in complete chaos now. Audience members were standing, some trying to get better views, others looking for exits. Camera operators were frantically zooming in to catch every moment of this unprecedented breakdown. The show's director was screaming into his headset, trying to figure out whether to cut to commercial or let this disaster play out. Meghan was now just a few feet from Kelly, her face flushed red with fury. "You want to talk about being wrong? You're wrong about everything. You're wrong about me, you're wrong about what happened, and you're especially fucking wrong if you think I'm going to stand here and let you disrespect me like this." "Disrespect?" Kelly's laugh was harsh and mocking. "You came on my show, cursed at my audience, threw a tantrum when I asked basic questions, and I'm the one being disrespectful? You're delusional, Meghan. Completely delusional." That was the breaking point. Meghan's composure, what little remained of it, shattered completely. She grabbed her purse and hurled it toward Kelly's chair, missing by inches but sending the host's coffee mug flying. The ceramic shattered on the floor with a crash that seemed to echo through the stunned silence. "That's it!" Kelly screamed, her own anger now reaching dangerous levels. "Security! Get her out of here! Get this crazy woman off my stage!" Two large security guards appeared from the wings, moving quickly but cautiously toward the confrontation. Meghan saw them coming, and her fury reached nuclear levels. "Don't you dare touch me!" she shrieked at the approaching security. "I'm leaving. I'm fucking leaving. But this isn't over, Kelly. This isn't over." She began backing toward the exit, still screaming at the top of her lungs. "You're going to regret this. You have no idea who you're messing with. I have friends. I have influence. And I will make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." Kelly followed her toward the edge of the stage, matching her volume. "Go ahead, tell everyone. Tell them how you couldn't handle basic questions about your own public statements. Tell them how you threw a tantrum and started breaking things when someone didn't kiss your ass." Meghan was at the stage exit now, but she turned back one final time. Her face was streaked with tears of rage, her hair disheveled, her carefully applied makeup smeared. She looked nothing like the polished Duchess who had walked onto the stage 30 minutes earlier. "You're nothing, Kelly Clarkson," she screamed with everything she had left. "You're a nobody who got lucky on a singing show, and you'll always be nothing compared to me. I'm royalty, and you're just trash from Texas." The insult hit the studio like a lightning bolt. The audience collectively gasped, and several people actually booed. Kelly's face went white, then red, then settled into a mask of cold fury. "Get out," she said, her voice deadly quiet but somehow carrying across the entire studio. "Get the fuck out of my studio, off my stage, and out of my building. Security, escort her out." Now, the security guards moved in, not roughly but firmly, positioning themselves on either side of Meghan as she continued screaming obscenities. As they guided her toward the exit, she kept turning back to shout more threats and insults. "This will be all over the news tomorrow. Everyone will know what you did to me. You're finished, Kelly. Finished." Her voice grew fainter as they moved her further backstage, but the microphone pack was still live, picking up her continued ranting until a sound technician finally managed to cut her feed. The studio fell into shocked silence. Kelly stood alone on the stage, breathing heavily, her hands shaking with adrenaline. The audience didn't know whether to applaud, boo, or sit in stunned silence. Most chose the latter. Kelly slowly walked back to her chair, stepping carefully around the broken ceramic on the floor. She looked out at her audience, her loyal, devoted audience who had never seen anything like this on her show. "Well," she said finally, her voice hoarse from all the shouting, "that's not exactly how we planned to end today's show." A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. Kelly picked up her backup water bottle and took a long drink, buying herself time to figure out what to say next. "I want to apologize to all of you for what you just witnessed," she continued, her composure slowly returning. "This is not the kind of show we run here, and it's not the kind of behavior we tolerate. No matter who you are or what your title might be, you don't get to come into our house and disrespect our family." The audience began to applaud tentatively, then with growing enthusiasm. Kelly managed a weak smile and waved. "We're going to cut to commercial now, and when we come back, we'll have some music to help everyone calm down. Thank you for your patience, and we'll see you tomorrow." As the cameras cut away, and the red recording lights went dark. Kelly collapsed back into her chair, the full weight of what had just happened hitting her all at once. In 30 minutes, a simple promotional interview had turned into the most explosive daytime television moment in recent memory. The footage would be analyzed, dissected, and replayed thousands of times across social media and news outlets. But for now, in the aftermath of the storm, there was only silence and the sound of janitors sweeping up broken ceramic. The Kelly Clarkson show would never be the same.